the centre of the Polish resistance against the Nazi laws and rules. But inside of the ruins of the city, the SS and the Wehrmacht and also the police conducted huge scores of executions, and in the ruins of the city, which had been destroyed by the war, thousands of Polish hostages were shot dead. Join us today as we look at the brutal executions in the ruins of the Warsaw Ghetto. And remember to support our channel. Please make sure to subscribe. Warsaw was the seat of the leading authorities of the Polish underground state, and it was where there were strong and well-organised groups of resistance against the Nazis. The Governor-General Hans Frank wrote, "If we had not Warsaw in the general government, we would not have 4/5 of the difficulties we've had to face. Warsaw is and will remain a focus of turmoil, the point from which unrest spreads in that country." As soon as the city was occupied, the Germans imposed terror onto the people, and they carried out horrific public executions of practically innocent people in public to strike fear into the hearts of the population. There were many prisons and detention centres filled with arrested people, suspected of being members of the resistance. Roundups saw thousands of people deported to concentration camps, and many executions were carried out in secret places. This led to huge massacres occurring inside of mountains and forests surrounding the city, and it was said of the executions in the forests that they were so risky it was very problematic. For the executioners, it was hard to discreetly transport prisoners to the site of execution a distance from the city, as they would attract attention and it would take time. The Germans were also concerned about the people living nearby being able to find the mass graves. The Warsaw Ghetto had been established in the city in November 1940, and it was the largest of the Nazi ghettos during the Second World War. At one point, 460,000 Jews were imprisoned in a small area, which led to around 9 people being forced into each little room. The prisoners had hardly any food, and at least 254,000 residents of the ghetto were sent to Treblinka extermination camp, where they were gassed and killed. It's estimated that at least 300,000 people from the ghetto were killed altogether, along with 92,000 victims of starvation and disease, relating to the conditions specifically of the ghetto. It was isolated from the rest of the city, and the bodies of the murdered were left abandoned, with bodies lying in the streets for weeks. There were Jewish working groups who helped to clean up the bodies, but executions took place on a larger scale, following the displacement of inhabitants of the ghetto, which took place in summer 1942. It was easy for the Germans to hide the killings and then get rid of the bodies, and in the spring of 1943, the ghetto was finally shut down after an uprising was put down brutally. With this, it was believed that the ghetto would be a possible place to carry out secret executions of Polish prisoners on a huge scale. It was said by one German commander, "Let's use gross action to finish Poles as well. Many Jews died in the ghetto and will continue to do so. There are corpses everywhere, so if a few thousand more dead Poles arrive, nobody will be able to verify anything anyway." Because of this, the ghetto's ruins became a place of execution and mass killing. It was close to the Pariak prison, and prisoners were marched from the prison into the ruins and then shot. Police regularly hunted Jews who were hiding in the ruins, and then these were also murdered too. The first executions of Pariak prison's prisoners occurred in the ruins of the 7th of May 1943. 94 were executed in the gate of a tenement house, and following this, executions took place in the Jewish residential district on a daily basis. The Germans gave up with their concealment of executions inside of the forests, and instead of deporting prisoners to concentration camps, they just shot them and murdered them inside the ruins. Each day executions of Jews who were being captured occurred, as well as those who hid them and tried to help them. Around many different places in the ghetto, Germans carried out executions. Often there were sometimes specific houses which were the usual firing ranges, and many of the murdered bodies were burned on the property of the former houses. Labour units also burned prisoners, and as time went on, the killings continued. On the 29th of May 1943, around 530 prisoners from Pariak were shot and killed, and over the following weeks, hundreds more were killed in the ruins of the former ghetto. But as October 1943 came, the terror inside of Warsaw ramped up. The Germans took further destructive effort to break the Polish resistance, and they actively sought out more to be killed. The action intensified when SS Brigade Führer Franz Kutschera took command of the SS and the police command in Warsaw. He took a very hardline approach and wanted to pacify the city through mass executions, carried out for every possible act of resistance. Executions were then ordered to be carried out in the open on the streets to strike fear into the hearts of the resistance, so they would not conduct sabotage. The roundups intensified, and everyday shootings were taking place every few hours in the main areas of the city. Street executions took place where victims' names and their crimes were read out on megaphones, so that everybody could hear what was happening. The huge killing operations shocked the people living in the city, and ordinary residents not involved in the resistance were being shot indiscriminately. Around 5,000 people were executed between the 15th of October 1943 and the 15th of May 1944 in the city and the area nearby. 3,800 were shot in the ruins. The killings continued at Pariat prison, where prisoners were dragged into the streets naked before they were mown down by machine gun fire. It was said that there was mental stress on the soldiers who became the executioners, and one SS man took his own life because of it. But the executions kept occurring. Hundreds of victims a day were dying, and mass executions continued to occur. After the death of Franz Kutschera, the terror did slow down. The street executions stopped, as did the megaphone announcements, but the extermination process continued in a more secret manner. Still, people were being brought into the ruins each day and were killed. On the 4th of March 1944, around 100 prisoners, including 4 Jewish women, were killed in the ruins, and their bodies were thrown into the cellar of a demolished house, which was then set on fire. On the 21st of March, 200 people were killed in the ghetto, and these were people from the surrounding villages, and then many of their bodies were burned in the crematoria of the concentration camp nearby, with the smell of burning bodies emanating across the city. The shootings and executions remained, but as the Soviets were approaching, the Germans began to dismantle the prison. They evacuated 1,800 prisoners, and then the aim was to erase the evidence of the crimes committed within the city. 2 weeks after the outbreak of the Warsaw Uprising, the last executions occurred in the ruins of the ghetto, with 100 people being shot en masse, including 18 women and 2 midwives. It is impossible to work out the exact death toll of the Warsaw Ghetto ruin executions. It's believed that up to 25,000 people were executed in the ruins. The executions were carried out by officers of the Warsaw SD and Security Police, the prison staff members, Warsaw concentration camp staff members, and SS men from the 3rd Battalion of the 23rd SS Regiment and Police. A number of people were executed for their war crimes after the war, but the majority of perpetrators escaped any form of punishment. The executions of the ruins of the Warsaw Ghetto were a hidden and brutal execution and suppression of the Polish people. Thousands of people were killed in large-scale massacres and executions that there were attempts to cover up by the burning squads and mask what was actually happening. Thousands of people went to their deaths at the hands of the SS and the German police, and today it's a forgotten part of the Second World War that shows the brutality and savagery of the SS. Thanks for watching. To support our channel, please make sure to subscribe, and once again, thank you so much for watching.